Hey there, this is Rajat here from Startup Frat, and today I want to talk about, are the rich getting richer? Are the rich getting richer? Why am I going to talk about it? Is because I watched a news article that had some very interesting information on it, and I want to share that with you, and then I want to share my thoughts around that. So question number one is, even if the rich are getting richer through time or in the past or in the present, how does it affect us? If you may be somebody who may be thinking, well, we just went through a slowdown, lockdown, whatever, and I did not end up losing my job, so I'm safe. I just want to chill, relax. Why should I worry about the rich getting richer? Because it does not affect me. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about a couple of very, very interesting economic phenomenon. I'll teach you how to link economic news with your personal well-being. And by the end of this video, you'll have a very crystal clear idea on, when you see people talking about stuff, when you see things in the newspapers, how do you predict the financial future and how do you position yourself rightly? So there'll be probably another couple of classes after this. So this would be a 2 to 3 part masterclass. So make sure that you like and comment your takeaways from this video at the end, because if you don't, then the algorithm may not show you the future videos. So let's get started. Recently, I read about this news during the lockdown. There was something that the US government did, which was called quantitative easing. Quantitative easing, which is, in the Western countries, they have a lot of welfare schemes. They want to give a lot of, money to the people who probably need it during the slowdown. They're out of a job. They cannot afford their healthcare. So, if you remember, Donald Trump was giving out social security checks to people. And they have a social security system, but in addition to that, they were belting out a lot of money to the people who needed it. Amazing stuff that happens in the Western world, yeah. Now, what happens is that at certain points in time, because of the intensity of this financial shock that the government took, what they needed to do was they actually ran out of money, and they said, well, we need to print more money in order to support these welfare causes or whatever it is, right? So they ended up actually printing dollars, okay? And these dollars are always being printed, or the rupees, for example. Any currency, any country keeps on printing currency now and again, but the currency has to be, the amount of currency in circulation is a direct proportion to the amounts of goods and services that currency supports. So for example, if the US dollar can buy a lot of things around the world, and thus the strength of the US dollar or the amount of US dollars in circulation is directly proportional to how much of products and services that country supports, that currency supports. Similarly, in Indian rupees, a lot of things globally are not traded in Indian rupees. So the value of the Indian rupee kind of represents the amount of value that it brings to the table among all the different currencies. Now, US dollar is not the strongest currency in the world, but the number of it is the currency of choice. So if you ever go international, if you're carrying dollars on you, pretty much they'll be accepted in every country of the world. On top of that, oil, okay, the number one most valuable resource on which wars are fought and things like that, crude oil, is traded in US dollars. So it makes it a very, very important currency. So what happens is that whatever happens to the dollar impacts every other country on the planet, regardless of whether you like it or not. Yeah, regardless of whether you like it or not. So what they did was, assuming that they had $80 in circulation, they ended up printing another 25% more. Thus, they printed another 20% dollars or $20 for every $80 that were existing. And today, out of every $100 that exists on the planet, 20 were printed last year. 20 were printed last year because the US government says, I need more money in order to supply, all of the people who need it, which primarily means the poor people, social welfare, right? So I need more money. The Federal Reserve, which is the central bank, prints more money. Now this money is being printed in excess, which basically means it does not reflect the amount of goods and services that are available. If there was a lot of invention, a lot of industrial growth, and there was a lot more products and services in the market, then probably a lot of dollar printing would support that. But this dollar printing was unsupported, which basically means what? Yeah, which basically means what? What did you learn in your startup launch program if you're part of the Startup University? Is all business is a function of demand and supply. Okay, all business is a function of demand and supply. Okay, so because there are not a whole lot of the products and services in circulation are not expanding, yeah, the demand for dollars is less. Yes, the poor need the money to afford healthcare, but in general, The products and services have not expanded. The money has expanded. What does that mean? What does that make the value of money with regard to products and services? Money is actually overprinted, which basically means everything else which is products and services in the market will cost more. So the money loses value. Okay, every time there's an excess of money in circulation, money loses value. Yeah, remember when an economy is growing, everything is becoming more expensive. Why? Because more money reaches the tier 1 and tier 2 cities, people's salaries expand, and in the bargain, the cost of multiplex tickets, the cost of cars, motorcycles, cost of eating out, everything increases over time. Liquor, beer and everything, right? So what happened was these $20 were printed in excess. That means if you were the holder of these $80 or rupees or whatever, so if you were like me, last year, business was decent, there was not a whole lot of losses, etc. So you thought, okay, I'm immune, thank God, I got saved from the coronavirus slowdown, I have not had a financial impact, etc. Then what happens is you suddenly realize that your money today is worth 25% less than it was yesterday, which means when you go out to spend it in the market, you will be able to afford less and less of whatever good stuff there is, right? Now in India specifically, India is not a major producer. The major production in India happens around agriculture. So India is relatively immune today to food inflation, which basically means the food prices have not gone up. But if you look at global commodities, things that require raw materials from abroad, things that actually are coming from abroad, like oil, for example, oil prices are going high. The crude oil prices have grown 10 to 15% from the middle of the lockdown last year to today. Okay, even they're touching actually last year's high and all that, and inclusive all the taxes and all. Petrol is touching $100. Now that affects you directly. Okay, think about other things that where the raw materials are coming from abroad. You have car production, motor vehicles. The price of motor vehicles is going on increasing, although the value of motor vehicles is decreasing. Okay, there are less people traveling today, less people getting out of their house, a lot of people working from home. If you go out onto the road, you will see 30 to 40% less traffic today than existed before the lockdown. But motor vehicle prices today are 25% more expensive. You look at any car today is 15 to 25% more expensive than they were yesterday, especially newer cars coming in and all these different foreign brands like Kia and all that. You see every car today, every decent car is upwards of 10-15 lakhs. All the SUVs are upwards of 24-25 lakhs, and that was not the case 15 to 18 months ago, right? So because of this demand supply mismatch, what happens is that the price of everything goes up. That is point number one. Okay, so prices go up. Point number one, prices go up. Okay, it's written over here, your money is worth less by 25%. Your money is worth less by 25%. Okay, now you may say that, okay, let us talk about America. The poor, the people who got handed all that newly printed money for social welfare, healthcare, whatever, social security, etc., they have more money. So if the prices go up, how does it matter? The poor and middle class are well taken care of, right? The poor and middle class are well taken care of. Well, newsflash, the news item that I read that basically boggled my mind was, in the last 8 months, which is between June and February of this year, between June 2020 and February of this year, what has happened is that 14 out of $20 printed, that's 74% of all of this money that was newly printed for social welfare, 14 out of these $20 printed have now found themselves in the hands of billionaires, which means the worth of billionaires has grown. The worth of billionaires has grown, while the poor and middle class are still where they are. Okay, so what they say, the quantitative easing or the money printing and the money given out to the poor and middle class in the US, which also affects us because the US dollar circulation actually impacts the price of everything else globally. Yeah, so we talk about the US, but remember it's also affecting you. Yeah, because petrol is $100 today. So what happens is that the money comes into the hands of the poor and middle class. Okay, what are the poor and middle class doing today? They go out into the market and they buy essentials like groceries and services like healthcare services and things like that. And who are the people who are supplying those services in the market today? It's all the big industrialists, the big industries, etc. Yeah. Now, before you start saying, oh, all the big people are looting the poor people, it's not like that. Let me give you a quick example. There are 3 types of people in the world. There are 3 broad types of people in the world. People who sell their time for money. Okay, people who sell their time for money. Okay, then there are people who create products and services. Okay, who use their time to create products and services and they sell them for money. Okay, so they have little more control. This category has little more control than the first category because they are able to control how much they pay for raw material and back-end services, and then they're able to control the price a little bit, like the car company, they're raising the price of the car, right? So, so for people who create products and services and then they sell them for money. Now what happens is, who are these people? The corporate employees, yeah, the people who sell their time for money, corporate employees, regardless of what your rate is. Yeah, you may be paid 5 lakhs a month, 10 lakhs a month, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You're selling your time for money. Okay, then there are people who are who are basically creating products and services. These are the small business owners, yeah, the small business owners, or they're sourcing the products. Let's say a kirana wala or a chemist, the small business owner, they source the products from somewhere and then they sell it, right? And that's how they make their margin. So the scale actually determines how much money they make. And then there's a third type of person, the people who create business systems. The people who create business systems. What are these business systems? These people create organizations or processes which basically figure out how to create products, which figure out how to sell products, and which figure out how to deliver products. Okay, which figure out how to create products, which figure out how to sell products, and which figure out how to deliver products. Now, what are these products? Look at big billionaire Amazon. Okay, they figured out how to source anything that you want from every corner of the globe at a price that is cheaper than your kirana wala and have it home delivered to you within 48 hours from anywhere around the globe. Okay, have it home delivered to you within 48 hours. So they have figured out how to create or source products. They figured out how to sell products to you, which means today Amazon is the go-to place for choice for buying anything that is related to household items or electronics or whatever, right? And then they figured out how to deliver it over to you so that they are the supplier of choice. Today, if any money gets released into the market and it goes into anybody's hands, whether it goes into a poor person's hand, a rich person's hand, a middle class person's hand, at the end of the day, it's gonna sooner or later find itself with Amazon, right? Sooner or later find itself with Amazon. Let's talk about vaccines. There are a lot of people spending a lot of money on vaccines, a lot of countries buying all these vaccines. The people who create the vaccines are the big industrialists who are, adding that value to society. I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but they figured out how to add huge value to society. Now, what is the difference between these billionaires and people like us? The difference is that they have added huge value to society and they have figured out how to package this value, so that regardless of whether you have food money or medicine money or whatever kind of money, wherever you go out and spend it, some billionaire is going to collect it from you, right? They sell apparel, they sell watches, they sell cars, they sell medicines, they sell vaccines. Yeah, all of these essential, they sell insurance. All of these guys have figured out how to get into the hot markets, hot evergreen markets, and they figured out how to create value out of whatever they do. And they've created so much value that 14 out of every $20 printed will reach their pocket sooner or later. This time it's done in 6 to 8 months. Yeah. Now, why am I interested in this news is because the same thing happened in 2008 when I was working in a Silicon Valley company, I told you, right? And what happened was the housing market crashed, the money evaporated, and suddenly the US government had to print loads and loads of money for the next 2 to 3 years together. And after 5 years, what happened was they realized, well, all the big billionaires, their net worth has increased. Poor and middle class are still over there. Even worse, because there's so much now money in the market, what has happened is that the poor and middle class are now having to buy the same things more and more expensive. There were entire countries have gone bankrupt by trying to solve their problems this way. Countries like Zimbabwe or countries like Argentina, just do some Google search on how Argentina went bankrupt, because there's so much money being printed to solve a crisis that very soon the money had no value. It had no value left, right? Now, this particular problem affects all of us because, like I said, everything is going to get more and more expensive on us, regardless of whether you live in India and you think I'm going to be immune, you're not going to be immune. Okay. So what is the takeaway from all of this? Are the industrialists bad? Are they evil people because they're making vaccines for you and things like that? The answer is no, they're not bad. They're not evil. So what is the takeaway from all of this? The takeaway is very simple, my friend. You need to figure out how to get from here or here to here. Okay, how to get from here or here to over here if you want to play in the big leagues. Is there ever going to be a time on the planet when there's going to be a level playing field, when everybody's going to have the same opportunities and regardless of the crisis, everybody's going to hurt equally or everybody's going to recover equally? Never. Never has there been a time in history when everybody gets hurt equally or everybody recovers equally. If you saw Schindler's List, Schindler's List, based on a true story, the person who had the money also had the power, to save his own family and then hopefully also save other people's families as well. So whoever is the smart guy, or whoever has figured out the code, will always be in a position where they are less immune to tragedy. Less immune to tragedy. So how do you do this? If you're like me, you must be thinking, okay, I cannot be like an industrialist because A, I don't have a lot of money, and B, I don't have a lot of business knowledge, right? I don't have a lot of money, I don't have a lot of business knowledge. I'm already 10 years into my career, 20 years into my career, and this is how it's always going to be. Let's do the best with whatever we are doing and let's not think outside the box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this up with 2 more classes on how on how you can actually utilize some of the secrets of these billionaires in your current life without spending a whole lot of money and without having a whole lot of business expertise. How you can utilize whatever you have in your mind, whatever you've learned, whatever resources you have, into creating product packages, where with a significant amount of footprint you can enter the market and start collecting this money, and over a period of the next few years you can really expand your footprint and hopefully be in this position, if not a billionaire, then at least a millionaire. At least a millionaire, right? So at least be in this position in the next 5 years probably. Okay, and the decision needs to be taken now, because just as always, right after the slowdown, right after the tanking of the economy, is the best time to start putting your footprint out there, because the market is all destroyed. This is the time for the small people who can take their place, who don't have a lot of competition, who don't have to compete with the big brands, because the big brands are also hurting somewhere or the other, right? If you've seen people, big industrialists like Anil Ambani and all of that, they're also hurting. So this is the time to think ahead. The market is in a flux. All of the old business models, they're kind of getting hurt somewhere or the other. And this is the time to take your place in the sun, provided you want to be at a different place in the next slowdown. There's always going to be a next slowdown every 7 to 10 years. This quantitative easing that I spoke about, this is the second time it's happened after 2008. So in 2008 to 2010, there was significant quantitative easing. It again happened another 5 to 6 years down the line, and now it's again happened, right? So these crises keep happening every 7 to 10 years. If you're smart enough, you will take another maybe 5 to 10 years to totally reposition yourself, but the decisions need to be taken now. And the journey will not, the takeoff is not 5 years. The takeoff can be maybe a 3 to 6 month period, which will get you repositioned, and then after that you go from there. Okay, so if this interests you, what I want you to do is I want you to put your comments in the comments box below, and what I want you to do is watch out for the next video, which will come tomorrow or day after, and then we're gonna go like this for the next 2 or 3 classes. Okay, so did you find anything valuable? Just let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next class. Bye bye.